Hello Space Engineers, Wellington 6012 here, and welcome to episode number 4 of my tutorial series. How is everybody today? I hope you are good. So you pretty much find me where you left me last time. All I did was a little bit of hand mining off camera. So so let's get into it. There's some things to do to cover off. And so as I say, I've just continued to drill down a little bit into the hole here. One thing that I did sort of forget to mention in regards to the controls is, getting the drill out. Using the left mouse button, we of course can mine, and pressing the F key, we can pick up the stone that we're mining. The right mouse button will go into destroy mode, and that way it will make a bigger hole, but I won't get any resource out of it. And I'm just slowly working my way down to the silicon. The other thing that you can do is in either of those modes respectively, you can double click, and when you double click it just keeps it going all the time. So I'm not pressing the button at the moment, I'm just my hand is off the mouse, but yeah, it will continue to drill, and you just press the mouse button again to sort of disable that. And yeah, so that's just another little feature, and that's the same for welders and grinders as well. So while we're down here, I may as well just get a load of stone, which, yeah, that's probably it.
Inventory
lady
full.
will tell me that I'm full, and we'll just throw that into here. So I'll just put that in here. There's a little bit of scrap here. I'll just try and remember that that's actually there, because that's going to be relevant shortly. And so I just put some loads in and be grabbing the ingots out of there. Now there's also some gravel. Gravel is kind of a byproduct of refining stone. You do use it in some things for making a welder, for making a grinder. So we look at our tools here. A grinder does need a little bit of gravel. The other thing is later on, I think reactor components will need gravel. So but generally speaking, especially at this stage of the game, it is a waste product. So to get the product out of wherever it's taking up room, let's just move those into my inventory, and I'll move the whole lot into here as well. So if I go away from, actually I can do it within this menu here. We've got this drop item button here, so we can either select it and drop. Alternatively, if I just pick that up again, we can also drag it over the drop item. And once again, alternatively, we can also just drag it outside of the window. Whoops, that was not the right thing. I'll pick up that data pad again. And I've accidentally picked up the gravel. Okay, so that's how we can sort of get it out. You can only do that from your personal inventory. So again, going back to what I sort of talked about last episode, you're essentially going into your backpack and grabbing that thing out with your arm. Whereas a lot of other interactions with the inventories, maybe you're actually getting the conveyor to push it using motors and cogs and things, if that makes sense, just to help visualize things. Right, so yeah, let's just have a look at what we need to still build from a progression point of view. So I'm going to press the G key, go into the toolbar menu and configuration, and to the progression. So first of all, we built the assembler, so that's unlocked a whole lot of things. I might just quickly build a light, because a light is pretty simple to build. So let's just build one of those, and go in there. It just needs a couple of construction components, so that's a nice easy one. We don't have the day-night cycle going, but if we did, then certainly having a light would be quite useful. But hard to see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's unlocked new blocks. Let's go and have another look in there. So now we've got access to these things. Not really relevant at the moment, but useful nevertheless. Okay, so certainly an advanced assembler, that's going to be useful later on. It needs quite a few components that we can't actually do at the moment. Specifically, I'm looking at those metal grids. Plus it uses quite a bit of steel, quite a few computers. So that's going to take a bit of time and energy to produce, given that we are only using stone at the moment to process. So really we want to optimize our resources, utilize some of these pure resources, ores that are under the ground. We've got nickel there in its pure form. We've got silicon under us in its pure form. And we've got magnesium in its pure form. I'll also just mention, we'll go into this probably more next episode, but the reason that we can see these actually is with our drill has a little sensor in it to sense ores under the ground. And at the moment, if I was to go across here, it would probably, my drill would sense that there's ice, because we're on ice, it's within short range. But it would probably pick up the nickel because we're standing right on top of it. But the reason why it's always showing, even with our drill put away, is that we've actually got an ore detector up on top there. And along with the antenna is actually finding these things, sensing these things, and transmitting it to my suit. So that's why I can see it now. It's like, well, we will go into ores and finding ores a lot more detail later, but that is why these are currently visible, is because this has actually sensed them and is projecting those resources. Okay, so yeah, back into our toolbar configuration, back into progression. Let's have a look at what else we need. So yeah, we'll skip through the advanced assembler. A battery, that's going to be quite important for us to do. And also interior blocks, so that's probably quite an easy one to do. In fact, if we look, we've already got it on our toolbar in the number 8 slot. There is a small grid version on here of just one of them, which is the round one, which is not showing up on there anymore. It's annoying. So that must be in a different group. That one there, the cylindrical. So we can do a small version of that. What does it need? It needs some construction and some interior plates. We've probably got some of that in here. And I've just realised that I forgot to put those ingots back in. So I'll grab some of them. And yeah, this is, you used to have to build one of the big blocks, but now there is the small grid version of that cylindrical that does the unlock. So this is one of the things, an example of how recent updates have increased the speed at which you can actually start your game, because there are things that were a little bit more difficult or prolonged in the early days of the game are now a bit more streamlined because there are other options. Yeah, so that's unlocked a few things. We'll just get rid of that again. And now if we go into our toolbar configuration, into the progression, so that unlocked all of these blocks here. Again, none of them are really useful to me right now. I mean, they are and they aren't. But they are going to take resource, so we really need to focus on getting some resources first of all. So refinery, so this is probably going to be the next thing that I want to build, because then that's going to process stone quicker than the survival kit. It's going to be able to process those pure resources, those pure materials, minerals, which the survival kit can't do. The survival kit can only do stone. So yeah, we've already got it down in our toolbar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on it, and then it should show up over here. I've got the small grid version showing at the moment. There is no small grid version, that's what it's saying here. So I'll click on the large grid. And what I can do is I can use the thing called build planner. So you see down here it says build planner. And I can load up that build planner. And then I can use some keys to produce those materials and withdraw those materials. There are some shortcuts on the mouse. Again, I'm not really going to touch on those at the moment. I'll show you first of all how to do it sort of in window. Now this doesn't matter whether it's in this window or if it's in this blocks window, because there's a refinery there. So it's just a matter of grabbing it and dragging it over the plus. And now that's added it onto there. So it's telling our suit, the computer in our suit, that we need 100 steel, 20 construction components, 10 motors, 10 computers, and 20 steel. Okay, so if we go over here, and we go into our assembler, and you can see that here we've got our inventory, and here we've got our pack. I'm going to put all those things back in there just because they're all in one place. And yeah, I can use these buttons here to transfer it from one to the other. So withdraw components for build planner. So the things that are in my build planner, I can withdraw. So I can just press this button. And it said cannot get those components because we didn't have enough. We grabbed everything that could, but there's still more. So now if we go back and pressing G, you can see the build planner. Now it's only saying 89. Now it's saying 11 construction modes, 9 motors, because it's taken into account the things that we've already pulled out. So yeah, going back into our inventory here. So now we can press this button here, which is add components from build planner to the production queue. So now I can press that. And now if we go into production, you can see it's automatically added those things in. And it will produce those. So that's how you can use build planner to withdraw certain things. I'll go into more a little bit later with the mouse controls, because that's how you tend to use it rather than those buttons. But I just wanted to explain what it was, because at this stage we might not actually want everything produced, because we are short of some stuff at the moment, and it has taken a little bit of time to produce. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cancel these extra steel, because remember it said 100 and then it said 20. I'm not going to worry about these extra 20 because that's just a waste at the moment for what I want. So we'll just produce these things and let that finish off. Okay, so that's all produced. Go back to the inventory and we can transfer the items from there. We've got the bold box to there and can't withdraw the 20. So if we look again in our G menu, there's still 20 missing. I'm going to right click to cancel that. We'll worry about those 20 later. Okay, so let's find a spot for our refinery. And yeah, we'll just put it here. So it's not directly connected to this. Certainly directly connecting it to this would be an option. That way when we put stone into our refinery, we would automatically be able to grab the stuff out. But I'm going to put it over here because I might actually put a conveyor or a cargo container linking the two. So just future-proofing a bit with my conveyor system. So I'm just going to place that there, and then I'm going to weld it up. Now you can see that those duplicate steel plates, and I didn't really talk about this properly last time, so thank you for the comments. The functional line is the line at which you get to duplicates. So this needs 100 steel plates to work, and the extra 20 steel plates is just a nice to have. It will make it stronger, it will make it more resistant to damage, but yeah, so that's where there's multiple things, and that's why I'm sort of reluctant to talk too much about build planner at the moment, because at this stage of the game we might not want to actually build up to that level. We might only want to go to the functional line, which is what I'm going to do today, because producing those extra 20 steel means more hand digging, more processing in there. Okay, but that's built. So that's awesome. So yeah, now I'll grab some stone out of here, and we'll produce some more ingots. All right, so just continuing on with a little bit of an introduction to the build planner. There's also this button here. So instead of dragging sort of the stuff across, we've also got this button here, which is deposit all ores, ingots, and components. So it'll just push your inventory into whatever you're connected to. So again, it's a bit like, just to visualize it, getting your backpack and just tipping it upside down and shaking it out. Yeah, and it just goes into wherever it'll actually push it out, and the refinery will grab the stone, but it will usually just go into a storage. You saw how quickly that processed as well, so very quick. But just something to be aware of is that the survival kit does actually produce a better yield. So, using the refinery at the stage for stone, it's sometimes actually better to use the survival kit still. Because if we go down, and I did mine some extra, I'll just pick that up. And
inventory full.
There we go. And again, we'll just go into the inventory and we'll transfer that all in. And yeah, so a lot slower. I mean, it's processing at a reasonable pace, but I mean, I think it's 2-3 times, maybe even 4 times slower going through the survival kit. But yeah, we'll just see how much it produces. So we're getting there. So it's already sort of up above what the refinery produced now, and we're still going. And that's us there. So 81. We'll go back and check what the other one does. And just as a reminder, with the survival kit, you do need to tell it to produce ingots. using the loading them up, adding some extras in. Whereas the refinery, you just drag the ores in there and it will automatically do it. So there you can see the compare the yields, 81 versus nearly 58. So quite a significant amount more is being produced through the survival kit, but a lot slower, and the survival kit can only do stone. Ideally we want to find some resources, I'll just put those in there. Ideally we want to find some resources that are more in the pure form. So let's actually do that. Let's go and grab some silicon. We'll just go back down this hole, and since I was kind of working my way towards there, and we'll just use the right click destroy mode to get down a bit quicker. And there we go. So as you can see, it's that sort of black, almost charcoaly texture versus the light grey of the stone. So now I'll left click and press the F to pick it up, and we can grab some of this raw silicon. Okay, so again we'll just dump all of that into there and it will start processing. So the raw materials do differ in the rate that they process. So silicon and nickel are sort of fairly slow. Iron, being a fairly basic thing, is quite quick. Stone is very quick in comparison to the others, and then our rarer materials later on, platinum, uranium, they're very slow. So it's just something to be aware of, and just think about the order in which maybe you're going to process these as well. You can change the order depending on where it is in the inventories, how it's sort of queued up they are. That does make a difference. Okay, so let's look at power now, because we've got a refinery and an assembler. So the assembler 280 kilowatts when it's working, the refinery 330, so that's 610 altogether. The wind turbine produces nearly 400, so there is definitely a shortfall there. So let's make a battery, and we'll go into the toolbar configuration, into progression again, because we're using progression. That's probably the best place to find it, and there we go. So we've got a few options there. I'm just going to go with the warfare one just because it looks a bit better, and you'll very clearly see that it's a battery. And again, we're going to put that down into the build planner, and I'll put that on the toolbar as well. You can drag it from the toolbar as well to add it to the build planner. It doesn't matter where you get it off this page. And again, right click to remove it. And let's jump out of there, and we'll just go into here, and we'll go into the inventory tab. And again, we're going to add the components to the production queue. So now it's producing all of those. And I'm going to right click to get rid of the extras, the duplicates. So that's the construction components and the steel. So they're just optional at this stage. We'll just get it built to the functional line, because that's quite a bit of stuff that we need to, extra stuff we need to produce, which at this stage, if we don't need to, is quite good. So that's producing. It's going quite slowly. You can hear that it is struggling, and that's because you can see here the required, we don't have enough going into it to actually power it. So between the assembler and the refinery, it is struggling. One thing that we can do is we could actually turn off the refinery at this point and just let the assembler focus, just let the power work the assembler, so one at a time. I'm just talking about this at this stage of the game because with the lack of power production, an option is that we could just put another wind turbine up, but then we'd need to produce more resources. So again, it's a whole chicken and an egg thing. So I raise it at this point because there is usually a shortfall of power between what you're actually using and what's being produced. So getting an early battery in is quite important because it does act as a bit of a buffer. I mean, by definition, that's what a battery does, is a reservoir of power. But certainly at this stage, it's quite useful to have. So again, let's go in here. We'll just start bringing out some of the materials that it's producing. It hasn't done all of them yet. But we'll go into here and we'll place that down. And we'll just start welding it up. Just enough so we can go into it and have a bit of a look. So here's our battery. And you can see that it's got output and input of 12 megawatts. So even though it only stores 3 megawatts, the output is much higher. So once we get this battery operational, of that 610 kilowatts, we're going to have 20 times that much capacity. Obviously at 12 megawatts output. 3 megawatts is not going to last long, but it just really gives us that buffer. And when we're doing other stuff, when we're away from our base, that wind turbine is just always going to be filling up that battery. So we'll just continue to build those components, and we'll make this battery live. But yeah, as I say, at this stage of the game, there is often a difference between your input and output. You probably won't strike it again with power until once you start to get up into potentially building ships and consideration with thrusters and ion thrusters in space, and then later on laser antennas is something where the difference between input and output becomes a bit of an issue. That's not to say you won't have trouble Energy with running out of power, not having not enough storage. That's a whole other thing. I'm just talking at this stage about input versus output. Okay, so our production seems to have stopped, and the reason that it has stopped is because the inventory is full. So we're going to inventory. It's already filled up the 2,000 litres, so I'll grab some more stuff out and free that up. So it would be good to get another cargo container in here sooner rather than later, but we'll just focus on getting the battery done first. Right, so I think that stopped producing, so hopefully everything's there. Yes, except for the extras, which we don't need. Let's just take them off there before I forget. And yeah, so let's finish this off, and there we go. A complete, well, almost complete battery. It's operational, it's functional. And yeah, let's jump into the control panel of it. And you can see that, yeah, it is recharging. So there's more power going in than what's coming out. It is set to auto, so that means that it will, if there is more power coming in, there's a surplus of production, then it's going to fill up, and if there's a deficit, too many things are using it, then it's going to pull it out. You can change the mode, so we can set it to recharge, and that way it will basically try and pull in as much as it can get and not have anything go out. And then the alternative to that is discharge, which means that it will not recharge. It doesn't really discharge. You don't lose any power apart from if something's pulling it out, but it doesn't actually push it out, if that makes sense. But yeah, it just means that it won't recharge either automatically or on recharge. There's also the color coding as well. You can see up here we've got the blue color, which relates to discharge. The recharge is yellow and the auto is green. We do have a surplus of power at the moment because I think that refinery is still turned off. So if we turn that back on, and then we can see now it's pretty much 6 days. There's only a marginal tiny little bit of surplus, so it's going to take a while to fill that up. But that said, once the refinery finishes, which is not far away, there's not much silicon to go, it will not really, that turbine will not be powering anything, and all that surplus energy will go into this battery. So with that in mind, let's think about inventory for this, because we did run out of storage when we were producing the battery components. We had a full inventory. So let's look at an inventory. So again, I'll go into my toolbar configuration and let's grab a cargo container. I'll just search for it. Cargo container, we'll grab the group and let's look at one of those. So the cargo container has a port on each side, and it's an access port. So it's got the locker handles and the locker doors that we can reach into. And if we put it in there, it's going to act as a conveyor network. It will link the refinery to the assembler, and then it will also give us access, which would be awesome. The problem is we don't have any metal grids. It requires 4 metal grids to build. Everything else we can do in the assembler at this point. We just don't have any cobalt to make the metal grids. So in the production, we're short of cobalt. We're going to need 4 cobalts. So we have the option that we can get the cobalt out of, we could get some metal grids out of these thrusters, just temporarily borrow them. That means that we wouldn't be able to fly this. So yeah, I think next episode we want to go and find some cobalt, because we've got the refinery to refine it. There's none right here. So this is probably going to be the best thing to go and find it. So again, this is another one of these chicken and egg situations. What do we do first? It would be good to have the storage, but we don't have the components to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a conveyor in here. So let's grab the conveyor, which in the progression I think is one of the things we still need to build to unlock things. And we'll still do some storage, but we'll use something else. So we'll keep going. Have I missed it? No, there they are. So we've got these here, and we've got the group. So we'll put the group in the toolbar. And yeah, so there's a conveyor junction. So again, like the cargo container, there is a port on each side, but these are only ports. You can see the difference between this and the assembler. They're not locker doors. These are a different type. I can't reach in and grab stuff out of these conveyor junctions. Okay, so this is a different type of connection. Okay, so if I put this here, I'm actually going to block my assembler. I'm going to block the access to the refinery, although the refinery does have another port at back, so we will still have access. But I think just to start with, a better option is going to be first of all putting a T-junction in there. It'll be slightly cheaper to produce, and then once we produce one of these T-junctions, we'll put that into the build planner. Once we produce one of these in our progression, that unlocks the connectors down here, and the connectors do have some storage. They have some cargo storage, so that's going to be probably the best option right now in the absence of the metal grids. And yeah, so that's what we'll do. There are other things as well that you could use at a pinch. For instance, there's these grinder and welder blocks. They also have storage, and they don't need any metal grids to make. So yeah, so that's another option as well. But we'll go with, first of all, making the parts for a conveyor. So we'll add them to the production queue. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people shouting at the screen, annoyed that I'm pressing these buttons today instead of using the mouse shortcuts for the planner, but I really today wanted to get an understanding across of what it is. Certainly next episode we will use the mouse shortcuts, so just bear with me on that. I just wanted to explain and visually show what was actually happening when we do those shortcuts. So yeah, so let's just keep building those, and I think we might, no, just need 3 more motors, and there's 3 there, so that's everything. And let's build that T-junction. There it is there. And this isn't quite blocking the assembly yet, because I can actually see in the pipe. Yeah. But now the refinery is connected to the assembler, so now we can just drag stuff across. So we have the first step in our conveyor network, which is awesome. Okay, so the next thing that we want to build is a connector. So we unlocked the blocks when we created that, when we built that junction, the T-junction. So I'm going to use this inset connector here, and the reason for it is, I'll put that into the toolbar. The reason for it is that this is a recent update, and this is the original connector, and if I go through, this is the new one, which actually has a port on the side as well, so that's going to be super useful. So yeah, let's just go and add that to the build planner again, and screen, try that one, add that in, and that'll start producing. Yep, we've still got iron, only just enough though. So yeah, that'll start producing. So we'll just let that build all the stuff, and then we'll build that. We'll also need to put one on the back of this, and then we can dock this and charge it up, and that'll be us for today. Yeah, and then next time we will look at taking this out and finding some cobalt and some iron, because once we get some cobalt we can make those things that we need to make, like a cargo container and more thrusters, and then the iron is just gonna bump out our production a great deal, because we're not gonna have to muck around with drilling stone. We can drill some iron and just get more bang for our buck. So we'll just let this finish, and then we'll weld it up. Right, that connector's done. Just before we dock this, I'll quickly just grab this little bit of scrap out of here. So this scrap came from the unknown signal that landed over there last episode. And yeah, where it came from was actually the battery. So the refinery, now that we have that, will process scrap, because the survival kit won't, and we got a little tiny bit of iron out of it, so that's nice. So yeah, where that came from was the battery. And you can see that on the list of components here, the power cell is red. What that means is when you grind down the battery, you will not get the power cells back. They will go to scrap metal. You'll get the computers back, you'll get the steel back, that's fine, but you won't get the power cells back. So where that's kind of important, and why power cells are one of the sort of bottlenecks, is you need to make them. You can't sort of salvage them. So that is just something to be aware of, and again, as I say, it's just one of those natural progression bottlenecks that you do get in the game. But now we've got a little bit of storage. So here we have 8,000 litres, which is better than nothing. It's 4 times as much as what the assembler's got, and we're all connected, so we can move stuff between whatever and wherever. And so yeah, basic assembler, basic refinery. Yeah, so we've got that basic, very basic network in place. So let's just quickly dock this up and then we'll call it a day. So remembering that we need to go into the remote control to control this. So certainly before I start going out, I probably want to build a cockpit on this, so that'll be one of the things, taking out one of those steps to control it, having to go in the remote. And yeah, let's just add the connector to our toolbar, and we'll use the switch lock. And I'll also going to add the battery as well, and we'll have recharge on and off. So with that, let's turn the thrusters on. Let's unlock the landing gears and lift off, and we'll just move over here, and we'll spin around, and we'll back into this. And so with connecting the connectors, again, we're going to get some of that common color coding. So you see currently they're white. If they were black, they would be damaged. When we back up close to it, we're going to get a magnetism, which there it's sort of magnetized itself and sort of snapped into the right position, and now it's yellow, it's ready to lock. And when we lock, it's going to turn green, and if we turned it off, it would be red. So yeah, we're now connected, and we can actually put our battery on recharge. So now if we look at the batteries, the battery that's on board here on the respawn pod, which is the white text, that's on recharge. It's recharged in 4 minutes. We've got the battery that's on the base, and that's depleted in 15, because not only is the battery on the respawn pod pulling the power, using all the power from the turbine, it's also pulling power out of the battery. Just something to be aware of is there is a bit of power loss when you transfer from one battery to another. I think it's 25%, something like that. So yeah, if you're wanting to empty the transfer power from battery, you will lose a little bit of power. But that's what I'm doing here, so that tomorrow we're ready to charge. It says fully depleted in 15. It won't be fully depleted in 15 because it's going to stop losing power in about 3 or 4 minutes when the other battery's full. So that is indeed where we'll leave it today. I think we made a little bit of progress. Good progress, we'll say. Good progress. Not a lot of progress because, yeah, again, just going back to what I sort of talked about last episode, we're at the end of episode 4, and what we've achieved so far on a speed run, probably still only looking 15-20 minutes into the game. But nevertheless, we have our core components for our station, our base, and yeah, we've kind of got the basics of what we need, and we're just going to have to expand on that. So yeah, next time we'll take the respawn pod out for a fly, and we'll see if we can't find some iron and cobalt so we can just continue to build on this. And yeah, so that'll sort of be the focus next time, but that's it for today. So thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you did enjoy today's episode and can join me again next time. And until next time, as always, stay safe out there everybody, and have a good one.